Kgotsong hohle mel mametseng le teng. Re le letshela diboho, I think ke tlamehile re nke monyetla ona ho leboha bohle balatedi ba crew enana ya re tshela le diboho. Re a leboha haholo balatedi, barati, bathahaselle, lona bohle le bankang dikarolo ha ntse re le kopa hore ne re thuseng, re kgothatsaneng ka lentswe hohle mme ka be re le teng. Re a tseba nako tsena di thata haholo, mme ke hona re lekang ka hohle hore la ho le jwalo lentswe la ntate Modimo lona ne le jalo e fang kgedi na ne jalo hohle ho le haufi mme re ka tswa re leng teng. Ka mona re fela le mobane ba neng ba joinne le our special candlelight services ho thata ka nnete bana beso, ho thata ka nnete, re utlwile bile ra leboha, so re a hlokana hore re lentse re kgothatsana hohle mo leng teng. Re jwetse fela o mametse o le kae, o kopana le rona mo leng kae, and ho etsahala eng, o etsang wena, re santseng fela re emetse moeti wa rona. O hokae, ho etsahala eng, o dutse hantle mo leng teng, re bone rona banna re tshela le diboho. Lebitso lena jalo fela la self explanatory, re tshela le diboho, re a thusana, re tlamehile batho re tsheleng ha o tlameha o safare o le one hohle mo leng teng. Re teng, re metswalle, a re ahaneng, a re thusaneng. Ausi Boitumelo, ke o bona, le wena Teboho Marokwane, ke a leboha. Ya, ekare re tla loka fela, kopa tshwarelo fela ke technology ke ntho tse teng di a etsahala, empa ha hona bothata hore pele teng re ya invite bohle ebile ha re ke monyetla onana re sa eme pele re qala. Mema bohle ba o nahanang, because topic ya kajeno ska ha le bone re tlo bua ka ntho e nngwe e re qetang re le batjha haholo, the silent killer. Then ra tseba hore la ho le jwalo e kotsi, e thuletse fela re mara ho etsahalang hobane re tla di utlwa kaofela taba tseo. Ha re memeng bohle, ha o hlokahale hore re tlo bua ka batho kwana, re tlo bua ka batho, re tlo bua ka taba fela hore enana banna re ka tentshana tsheya jwang, re bone, because ba bangata ba metswalle ya rona ba sa leyo lefatsheng ka lebaka la topic enana fela, because re na le ntho tse ngata ka hara yona, empa re tlo utlwang hantle rona ho etsahala eng. Kore ke leke fela ke shebe hore na moeti wa ka o teng ka phaposing ka kwano. Ngadi Tshepang, ha eba wa nkutlwa, kopa fela o unmute fela.
Thank you so much, Lucas. Journalist processes in some
Yeah, I
understand. But I'm hopeful that I'll be able to carry throughout the conversation. Yes, not this challenge. It's maybe what could possibly be going wrong, but I'm hopeful that it will turn.
No, Satana ana matla. Ka se re sokodisa tlene re qale le go peleng ne ntse le hantle. Mara ha ona taba ntle le tshinywa nako fela, because metsotso se ile. Yeah, se kentse introduction, mara fela re tlo kena ho wena jwale ka sebuhi sa rona go ntwale. Hantle moeti wa rona ke mang, o tswa kae, ho etsahala eng, then ba ho tsebe hohle bana beso mo ba ka tswang ba le teng, because ne se ke bule fela rona taba e re tlo bua ka yona monna. mara re tla di utlwa, re se ke ka kena haholo re utlwela rona a di tshepang Mahlatsi ke mang.
Okay. Ka lebitso ke Tshepang Mahlatsi, ke tswa ke le
Bana beso, ya
of
ke
mental.
tsebe ho etsahala eng, empa re tla nne re leke, kopa fela le be patient le rona. Network ya re ehlile re batla re etsa mathata, empa re tla nne re lekelle. Re tla leka. Monghadi o kgutlile ke o kgutlile, wa nkutlwa?
I can say because if I should be continuing, but I can earlier on that it's the introduction. I just apologize firstly that I tried and I'm doing my master's of law degree and Paris. And at the moment, what I'm trying to achieve, I'm coming here to speak not as an expert in the conversation on mental health, but I'm coming to speak as a person who's saying that now I've lived in my personal capacity with depression. I can say I think I'm in a better position, my personal capacity as a person with depression who use antidepressants, and as someone who's saying, I'm looking back at those years and all the things that I've achieved, that surely there's someone who's going through this. So I'm not speaking as an expert, I'm speaking as a more appeasing and who's yes. Eric is ka se ke matha le yona jwale ne se ke feel ke shebile le network se ke batla ho matha jwale but yes
ya no ha hona bothata
yes
ke a utlwisisa haholo hobane vele jwale se re tlo tlameha re khathe tse ding tsa dintho, empa ke crossitse di-fingers fela hore ya ntho tsa rona di tsamaye hantle. Okay, ya re a utlwa as a young guy o bile ka matsoho a mang re tlo bua ka ntho ka motho habedi, re tlo bua ka motho a bileng le ke tsebe ke illness enana re bitse illness enana ya then hona mo ntho e monate e tlo kwala ka yona ke hore na ho etsahetse leetong lenana le hore qetellong mona mo leng teng o kae. So it's going to be an interesting conversation. Re leboha ka introduction e. Now a ko re bolelle fela hanyane o ka mora Paris he ho letse teng, and then taba tsena o du hlahela o le ho kae? Yes, wa nkutlwa?
Yeah, I can hear you about.
Yes, ne ke tjho fela hore o tjho re hlalosetse hore na okay hore re tsebe hore vandag a Tshepang o na le o teng ebile ke mohlodi tabeng tsenana tsa mental illnesses. Di wena ha o qala taba tse ho ne ho etsahala, o ne ho kae? I believe o no le sekolong e ka go fela ka batsi fela hona ho etsahetseng ho ifane ho na le taba ena, because rona ba re bitsa silent killer because wena o elelletswe jwang hore banna ho etsahala ka nna?
You are right, justifiably so, when you say it's a silent killer. because ho etsahalang hore batho ba iphumana ba na le bohloko ba kgatello ya maikutlo and them not being aware of the challenges tse ba fetang ho tsona. Nna ke bile lehlohonolo he hore ke bile before I even got to university, I was already struggling with some of the challenges that I had in that skolong he mone ke le teng o na tlo utlwa life orientation teacher was like, but anger. I was an always angry person and I was always physical here, doing simple things, classing, throw a tantrum, like teacher, we just a way to get off. Then they started saying, now you need help because this is not normal, because at home they're like, you are this person, but Africa schooling you're a different person. So the first year when I got to the university, I started, of course, a psychologist was saying that now please do help me on these issues, because as a young black man, there are so many other things that we are not even aware that now they are impacting us. You'll understand that now, and when you are growing up as a young black man, that now you are expected, before you even get to the age of saying that by virtue of you seeing your own responsibility, guys, some of the things they are, and when you don't have the right support structure in the sense of role models in our communities. So when I got to university, I was starting, it was just me trying to find help about my mental health. But in 2016, I was elected, of course, the prime of House Solopili at the University of the Free State. In that, 2016, it was the Fismas fall that I found myself being in confrontation with the police at that time, of which then I was diagnosed with what is called post-traumatic stress disorder, which later developed into depression. So that's when my post-traumatic stress disorder, that your entire being in a as far as the symptoms of depression. As a post-traumatic stress disorder, you're always anxious. Now, remember, it was caused by the fact that now, as a person, in a fight of some sort, so I was always scared, anxious, didn't want to be around people, started having a serious problem with the police, because now I was also reluctant, of which is one of the things I'm going to touch later on, that now we never want to admit the challenges that involves mental health. Why? Because of the stigma that is attached to the conversation itself. As a black person, you cannot go out and say that now I have depression. As a black person, I cannot go out and say that now because now our parents, unfortunately, to everyone who's listening, we all know this, they want to say when you have mental health challenges, responsibility, or am I failing as a parent? When you say you have mental health challenges, what is it that I'm not doing right as a parent? Of which we need to be in a position to say that now, when do we separate you're going through things without your family or parents feeling like they are responsible for that? So then of course, my academics were badly affected. My psychologist then did suggest to let's work together with the university that you need to drop out so that I can fully pay attention to you and you can also fully pay attention to your recovery. Then we started being prescribed medication and all those things. So that's when I was saying that now I made a decision. I made a conscious decision. I'm admitting to the fact that now I'm not okay. The first step in healing was psychologist, the first step in healing is acknowledging that. And now most people cannot find help, as you rightfully referred to this illness as the silent killer, cannot find help because they do not want to admit. I once wrote a tweet some other time and I said, the moment you want to start with counseling, be sure that now you achieved. When you go and want help with the intention of outsmart many other underlying issues that I was not even aware growing up they were affecting me. So that's one of the things as far as dealing with mental health and taking a step further about finding the help.
Yeah, no, you've said a mouthful, and I really must say, or I really applaud you for, because like Rachel, first step to recovery is acceptance, of which batho ba bang ba hloleha ho accepta hore man ke a kula. Kila bona, because neneng kwa se ba blame because ha o bone di-sign ha o di tsebe di-sign tse like o tjholo batswadi ba rona ha na
Yes.
yona ntho in our wake up hore na ke eng hantlentle sick ena ga wena o tlaetse o dimutsi o eng wa tena o kila bona o re tlamehile re utlwe ka wena ka tlung dintho tseo kaofela then ha ba bone hantlentle
Ngwana
ho bona.
seleng.
Yes, ke athe ha ba
Yes,
elellwe hore
yes, yes.
ka nako eo nthwenana ke molaetsa. It's a cry hore o etse o batla attention e serious ya go batla thuso o kila bona mara re a leboha hore
Yes,
la ha o le
yes.
jwalo ho tloha high school la o fihla varsity mara unfortunate part la re ka bua itse ha o le varsity ha nthwenana e qala jwale e tota you had to drop out and dropping out of how you had to go back home. What happened then? It was double jeopardy now. You have to confront this
That was
illness
the
and then you have to go back home.
yes, that was the that was the most challenging phase ever, in a sense that now I stayed here in Bloemfontein. Why? It is very important that we acknowledge also that the environments, the environments in a sense that our communities are some of the reasons why people are somewhat depressed. I say this with caution, of course, because now some people are in communities who are watching this show now, are people in communities saying, I grew up in this community. It's a trigger to me. The environment from childhood, it speaks to me daily on the things that I went through, that nobody knows that I went through this thing. To me, this community speaks on so many other things. For example, saying, I hate being around here. There's so much unemployment here. There's so much use and abuse of drugs, and those things like the fact that Abdul Lucas, you walk around in town and you meet a person who was your classmate, you meet a person who you grew up with, and this person is abusing drugs, those things can affect you vicariously without you being aware. So I was like, going home is not the best option. Trust me, I have the best support system ever in my family. But at the time, I said to myself, I think they're going to get more sick as compared to me. Example, before the Arab question, I was that in January, before I registered at the university to coming back for my master's, and there was a time where my late Anthony she's the principal of the family, my mom, we, because I don't have a relationship with Paris in a sense. But I came back and I was like, I need to be somewhere. And they're like, you need to go back again. Is it? You understand? So it's an environment. That's why when I was going through that, I didn't choose to go back home because of some of the reasons related to that. But however, what I then did, I stayed here in Bloemfontein, and that's when I got more time with my psychologist because I'm still in the environment, and let me make peace with the environment that triggered me. Then that's when I started, in the process of me being in Bloemfontein, I ended up starting my own organization on mental health. So I can say that time I dropped out of academics and I focused on something different. Remember, it pained the fact that now we're still going to see my classmates because now I'm already late Gaslim. But I had to make peace with that. The best thing that I made that made me get through this phase was the understanding that now it's funny how when before I started this session, I was preaching to myself now about the importance that we that before anything can happen in your life. You have already at a step ahead, or so you are in a position to understand that now things are going to happen. They are not going to happen the way I want, but I'm ready and I'm prepared for how things are going to unfold. It was rather unfortunate. Remember, Abdi Lucas and everyone who's listening, I'm from a community where I was celebrated for the work that I did. It not happen in the type. It's academically, we're performing good, involved in so many other things. When the thing ever, you understand? So when you say double jeopardy, if it is for your own health, would rather not lose a year of your academics than to lose you. That's why at home they were okay with me dropping out, because they were convinced that societal led that I wanted to take my life. I felt like I was a failure. Nothing was making sense. I lost the bursary amongst other things. So it was just so many things that were happening. But I had to make a decision. Over any other thing.
Wow. Yes. No, man. I really go. It's young, bravery guy, and while going through all this, at the same time, that support structure, it was very important. I can hear they played a very crucial role in you dealing with this, and wherever they are. And I'm glad there are people out there and there is help out there, so that the message really for us to have this discussion, other people like Rich, it's a silent killer. So but they are all alone, they have to suffer ba le bang, it's not anyone aba thusa o kila bona, so ba ikwalla khoneng unana no, this is the end of it. Hence ke botsa the time when you had to drop out, this double jeopardy. No, I can't deal with this. Other people are no way. There is no way out now. Now I really have to end it all. Of which the message behind this no, reach out. Whether o ba tseba kapa ba tsebe ba teng, thuso e teng ka ntle ka mane. So ha ra tlameha go jumpa go no ho fedile. Yes, o right, we rather lose selemo sa ntho o etsang hona le go lose wena kaofela. So selemo se tlang o tla leka hape, and here you are.
Yes.
Ako bua fela, here you are. O
Yes.
qetile di qualification ya hao ebile o busy ka ako ba bolelle hae mo le rona ho etsahalang no tjena ka education ya hao.
Yes. Thank you for that comment. Yes, aral tshwanela who to jump when things don't go our way. But as you're speaking up, Lucas, as you're making, or rather, how like this question, I'm thinking of that one person who's at home who's saying, I wish the way Lucas is speaking, I can make that decision of not doing anything, of not wanting to harm myself, of not wanting to take my life, of not wanting to give up, of not. To have the support. Everything was happening to him. He had people around him to talk to him, to support him. I did not mention one thing, that during that phase of Lucas, I started first saying, man, one bottle of wine, one glass of wine daily. My psychologist was, are you aware that now you're becoming an alcoholic? Was aware. Because 2 bottles of wine in a day, in a sense, is a problem. So I was starting to resort to destructive behaviors. In a sense, it was coping mechanisms. So I can say, Abdi Lucas, at the moment, making a decision also of coming back to school, making a decision of also continuing with my master's. I'm doing my master's in law, and my topic is a legal response to excessive stress and depression at the workplace. And I'm looking specifically to things. I'm looking specifically to the depression of frontline workers.
Yeah, no.
I'm looking, and make you go mute the mic, because ne ke kopa mute mic wa hao because ke utlwa batho ba ka morao ka. So I was saying the decision that I took was to do my master's of law in looking at the depression and anxiety of an excessive stress of frontline workers during the COVID-19. So I tried to take what almost took my life, which is depression, mental health, and I'm trying to study it in the field of law, of which is the field by profession. What I'm just doing here, I'm just trying to take the relationship of my personal struggles and bring it to law and say that now in a legal space, in a legal space, what is it that I can do to contribute? Because I believe now from the day I was diagnosed with depression and from the day I said I'm depression free, I need to find ways of teaching about these things. And even if I have to be a lawyer who speaks on mental health, on labor law, professionals, I'm going to do that. So that's what my master's is focusing on. For now, is there a way perhaps that we can find, do we need more than just psychologists to deal with mental health and depression at workplace? And what I'm trying to find out, or rather already my assumption yesterday, which is it's like your psychologist and them are not enough. There's also a role that law can play to make sure that now the working environments are not as stressful to employees as they are currently.
All right. Yeah, no. I must say, this is, man, this is good. This is brilliant. This is brilliant. Kore, I'm comforted. You came back and very strong. Ebile no now we got to the next level. Ya hore the world is gonna know. Tsepa Mahlatsi. Mamedi hai mo. Note this face. Note this name. Tsepa Lawrence Mahlatsi. You're gonna hear a lot about this guy. He's already doing a lot of things more. Kantle ka monana sekolo mole wa tsejwa ke ena o tswere foundation a buang ka yona. It's working wonders. They are assisting a lot of students. So tseba hore guys mo leng teng, you can, this setback of today, it's a setup for something big. Look today Mahlatsi o kae re me re am lebohisa ka nnete because how we want lentong hape a bua ya hore sheba hona o resort, what is this that you are using to resort maybe trying to deal with this thing, whole thing. Ube very careful hore na yes e kana ya o thusa for motsotswana ona mara in the long run e kana ya ba a permanent distraction to your life. Yes unso le teng lefatsheng, yes wa copa wena o ibitsa your own coping mechanism, but in the long run it might derail you and then events bophelo ba hao at o a phela at o shwele o kila bona. Now relax, pause, seek help. This is a living proof, bana beso, this is a living proof, and me re a leboha ka hono jalo re utlwile hore now this is lightly maybe o buile ka taba ya future hore now this is what you want to do, how tswela pele professionally. Now are you intending to take this foundation how further kapa o tle kenya fela line ya mosebetsi wa, because ska le bala re bua le mmueledi monana o tlamehile go background o buella batho ba bangata jwale o tlo tlolla mosebetsi kapa o tlo etsa part time kapa e tlo ba something je e tlo sebetsa generally le.
It is my prayers and best hopes that I get to be in a position where next chapter outlives me. When we talk of mental health, we're talking about close to commit suicide. Every minute, there are so many hundreds of people attempting to commit suicide. In a minute, there are successful suicides cases. We're talking about mental health. Mental health is not only about things happening in your life, but when you talk of mental health also, we're talking about an instance where one is saying that now, I'm trying so hard to make sure that now I'm balancing my career, but my career is not balancing. We're talking now about mental health. There's a person who's saying that now I'm trying so hard to balance my life, but my life is not balancing. When you talk about mental health, you're talking about the person who's saying everything in my life is going the way but I just drop. That's what we're talking about anxiety. We're talking about mental health. We're talking about the fact that now there's someone who's the gig signed up as a model, so I need to not about I cannot wake up in the morning to face my boss because now this person, whenever I'm around them, they are always shouting me, they are always making me feel like I'm stupid. Now we're talking about generalized anxiety, and also talking about post-traumatic stress disorder. And because now when you talk of post-traumatic stress disorder, we're not only limiting it to the accident as a whole. We're now talking about the person who's saying that now I've failed so many things in my life, and now as a result, everyone is laughing at me. Everyone around me is starting to think of me as this particular person. We're also talking about the person who's having stress, but now this stress is excessive. So I try to build the picture now from what I just said, the picture of so many things that are happening in our lives, not being aware that now they also have the consequences of mental health. So now the question that you're asking me, Corey, will I continue with next chapter? The aim, next chapter should grow as an organization that is going to develop the Black communities, to go to churches and tell the spiritual leaders of their role in as far as speaking about mental health, because they do have the role that they play in as far as stigmatization is concerned of mental health. I want to be in a position to influence the policies of in the work environment where saying that now we want what has been happening. It was limited to the students at the universities, but I'm realizing now it is important that we go in Black communities and teach about mental health. Yes. So next chapter is not Mahlatsi. Mahlatsi can be a lawyer, but next chapter is an organization founded by a person who's then a lawyer, but who needs to find people like Bo Ausby Tumelo who can contribute from their legal perspective as boards, and to make sure that we need to protect the mankind. We need to protect people, because now by 2030, of which we are only, I can say, 9 years away from what World Health Organization said, that now at least 4 out of 5 people, back when they said that like 4 out of 5 people, now the recent statistic, when you go to the net, it will say 1 out of 4 people will be diagnosed with depression. But we need to be in a position to understand that now millions and millions of people are going to be affected at some point in their lives in mental health, and we do not need to get to that point. I make this reference because of saying this is important to continue. This is the work that is important to continue, because not so long ago, it was it last year or now earlier this year, there was a student who committed suicide from or rather everyone is just trying so much to escape the reality, and we need to remind people every day that now these things do happen to us. Life happens to many of us. So now it is my constant prayer and also objectives that the next chapter is to see that now even Black parents being part of the conversation, campaign mental health at the school from the parents themselves, to say that now we need to protect our kids, because now sometimes the triggers of mental health might not be things that parents see, and might be things that are lying in our surroundings that our parents don't know about. So next chapter should be in a position to influence people to see positively that everything and matters relating to their psychological well-being. This is a great movement that I believe can change lives. So many people are dying because of depression, so being admitted at a psychiatric complex or being admitted completely. So I want to dismantle that with all the help that I can get, all the volunteers that I can get, to make sure that now we speak of mental health, we normalize the conversation of mental health, we save the generation that is coming, because we cannot. There was a talk where I made reference to the following words. When I say re hodisetswa mabitla, I'm saying that now re phelela ho shwa. Of course, when we say spiritually speaking or religiously speaking, we're saying that now re kgutlela ho moloki, but now re ke se phelele ho shwa. Young people ba phelela ho shwa. At the age of 9 years, a person committing suicide. At the age of 10, people already thinking of taking their lives. I understand, trigger alert. I understand that now the circumstances can push us to the point where we want to take our lives, but that should not be the result area. We need to find better ways of coping. We need to find better ways of speaking and dealing with our life events. I might have been privileged to have some of the support structures and the psychologists and all other people to support me, but there are someone who's saying all these people that you refer to me are the very same people who are pushing me to want to take my life. I want to say to that one person, that's what Next Chapter is trying to achieve. That's why I want to push Next Chapter, for a person to say, I can still push and find help outside the circle that I have. You have your SADC, you have your you have your social workers, you have your psychologists at the clinics. Even the nurses are trained to refer you to all the help that you can get. So that's where I want to.
Yeah, no, sure. Man, I wish the way this topic is going, we can have re na le nako e ngata and re kgone ho bua, but I think ka tumelo ya hao, let's call this our first segment. Re tlo khutla hape neng hape re tswele pele, because looks like o butse can of worms for me hore ho na le tsona tle re tlo focus on tsona, and then we don't mind rona as re tsela le dibo ho ba part and parcel and msebizi ona o motlo etsang wa jala awareness out there, because this already a tool e bontshang we are serious about this. We'll get back to ba bue ba thuse ba ba, because ntwe monate go like o hlalositse hore ha o expect ha ya sekolong for this. Ntwena na wena o iphetse wa itseba ke life experience ntwe re buang ka yona. So now yes, ha o tswela pele ka msebizi ona na o thusa ba ba, re teng re tla o thusa ka mo re ka kgonang ka teng. If o hloka thuso tswa ho re tsela le dibo, re teng o na le bo ausi Bitumelo mo Bloemfontein. So tie up le bona o bue le bona, re bone re ka sebetsa jwang le wena ha o nka this next phase o buang ka. Mara pele re kwala mpolelle ho na le nthwana e ntlelang hore the stage tsa this whether ke bipolar kapa ke depression, o ka re qaqa habedi, so that because ke batla re thuse mobui hae man rona man o ka nna re wa phela athe already ho na le stage 1 2 3 4 fihlella me se ban severe o kila bona, then o na le o ka re qaqa fela hanyane fela ha ntso thola thuso rona ba o hlalosetsa the stages tsa depression and bipolar di tsamaya jwang.
I think I just sent you a message, Kiri. Please repeat the question for me. In a little guitar the time you were about to. Yes.
Okay, no, it's fine. Ne ke re fela ke batla ha re se re tlokwana, there's this main question ne ke batlang o nhlalosetse momamedi mbui hae mo lo hona le ntse le ngo di hlokomele. Now ke eng ntse le ke di hlokomele na di 10 stages tsa depression le bipolar. Yes, if the stage tse no ka re man motho mo ha elellwe maybe ba ba elela se le late, mara hona le stage 1 2 3 4 5 up to 10. Mona me say 1 will be the minor and then 10 will be the severe, now where you really have to be admitted on a mental institution. But before all that, hona le stage 1, all these things how ya ka tsona, is there such stages where people can be note?
Okay. You now asking me to do something important. There's this book here. It's called Someone in My Head. This book was possible in that it explains to a person, it's like a small diary that you have about your mental health. So what then do you do there? This book, it allows you to okay, it's upon this where you at. In something like a journal, where you look, go to okay, sharp. This is what I'm feeling today. This is what's happening. It'll be a date, time, place, what. Negili, in this environment, this is what I felt, and this is how this has affected me. Also, now it gives you the responsibility to check your moods. Now, self-awareness is something that we never have as people. Awareness, I'm self-aware, to the environment, to and have distance, so I'm aware of my environment, but there's small details, things that you need to be aware of. Let's first look at bipolar. Bipolar is one of the most difficult things to pick up. Why? Sebile re motho a etse tshepang o jwalo ai ke motho a jwalo he yena 2 minutes o sharp 2 minutes a sharp, then we laugh about it re motho a etse o jwalo. But now we are not aware that we are normalizing and enabling some of the traits that suggest that you should find help, and you don't do that because but around you they know how stubborn you are, they know how on and off you are. 2 minutes you are like this, 2 minutes you want like this. So but we are not aware of the danger of that. And we say that now today you want everyone look at something today it's answer child look at something as so now it is very important and it's okay when people are saying we are but now there are instances where you're going to say you get into an environment where people are saying it's rather we're not going to tolerate that behavior is very, very toxic. So a person bipolar, it requires a lot of Lucas is acting like this. Lucas, why do you act like this? But be careful. This is what is going to happen when you talk of bipolar. A person is going to jump and say, why Lenjaja? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you don't want to spend time with me, it's fine, and things like that. Defensive. Now they are jumping to they want to remove the responsibility of their conduct and they throw it to you. If you feel like you're having a problem with me, why don't you just stay away from me too? Instead of engaging into the conversation, they rather cut the conversation down. 3, this person will take 3 days as and start a new circle of friends who are not somewhat aware of their traits. So that's one of the dangers of bipolar, amongst others. Today you're like this, tomorrow you're like this, today you're like this, tomorrow you're like this. So it is very difficult to pick up also because we have normal this week, I don't want to talk to anyone, I don't want to engage with everyone. When that behavior is repetitive, it becomes a problem. Depression. With depression, we can be depressed and still be operating up to because let's make this point that is very important. There are surviving burnouts. There are people who are silent winners, or I can say silent aware that they are depressed, but taking life as it goes one at a time. Some people babang depression, loss of weight, eating a whole in disruptive coping mechanisms, or they just don't, they are no longer interested. Some are suicidal, and it's just that phase in life. Because one of the things saying when I was going through something, I used to say, no man, I'm not going through a lot. It's just one phase. I'm just going through a phase in life. So it is very important that we also note and acknowledge that now sometimes we might find ourselves in such a situation. But also what is more important when it comes to mental health, of which people are not aware of, is the fact that now there's grief that we also need to talk about, and its contribution to mental health. There are certain life events and failure states. For example, when you talk of grief, we would say that now, no, I just lost someone, but it takes a lot to a point where one can even get depressed. A person fails a module in school, they end up being depressed, of which one can say, how can you be depressed from just failing a module? But what is more also important, some of the signs that you can see from a person, let's say a person who's depressed would say they want to withdraw. Lockdown. During lockdown, this is the most difficult and challenging time. Lockdown, I just enjoy being those people can be people and you find them dead in their houses because no one is checking out on anyone, because all of us, we are trying, all of us, no one is checking out on anyone, because all of us, we are focusing on trying to get our lives together. The plea that I'm making now, as I'm looking at your time, is that people as the waiters, I'm referring to people in all these jobs saying how to get locked down, and they are affected by that. But so many people are going through with caution. This is the time more than ever where we need to be out there to look at the signs. Sometimes throughout the night, throughout the day, throughout the night. So there are so many ways of, or rather, techniques that people use to hide the fact that now they do need help. And also, you cannot force me to say to me that I need help. You need to say, Tsepang, I think you do need help. I think you do need help, Tsepang. But Tsepang also needs to be in a position to acknowledge when you suggest that I need help, that now, okay, actually, I think I need help. But how do we go about that without making me shut the conversation out? Because the mistake that you need help, like, okay, God, you're telling me that I need help, so how do you think I go about it? But also give a person a chance to say, actually, I think I need help. How do you think I go about it? And then we give advice. Unsolicited, rather, I would say, we sometimes give advices to advice. What is your problem? So we also need to avoid such situations.
Yeah. No. Yeah, utlwile. Tsebe tsa ka di tletse, like ke tjho ke re wa hlokahala re ka bua ra tswela pele ra bua ba ra he hona le ntho ke batlang fela ha re tlo kwala, because ke tlo botsa, I think we are left with 1 or 2 questions. Ke batla fela re tlo bua ka this like it's a wa e bona na on the screen.
Yes, we left a few minutes. Okay.
Yeah, ke batlile ke go wile setulong. Yeah, go ikutswitse motho o nana kae a ntse ke batlana le taba tsa hao, so ke bona re man ke o phela ka taba tseo, so a ko re qaqa hanyane habedi fela ka
Yes.
tsona.
I say these words everywhere I go, and every interview, I thank God, every interview that I do, most of course, I'm always asked, what do you mean by saying be loyal to your calling and the universe will locate you? Once located, dominate. You know, recently, I have been in a phase where I say, there are so many things that I want in my life, and they are not coming the way I want them to. Up to Lucas, I might be newspapers. I still get the rejection letters from the law firms that I applied to. I still get the rejection letters from the proposals that I proposed to the government. I still get rejection from some of the things in life that I thought maybe I've done my bit of being a nice person to the universe and contributing positively to the universe. And I don't always get dintho ka mokgwa o ke batlang ka teng. And it is painful. It is painful in a sense that now sometimes, not that I'm doing the work that I do to get acknowledged, to get celebrated, but sometimes I wish the universe and the world can be more kinder to me because I've done my fair share. Muhammad Ali says, the rent that you pay to be on the face of the earth is service to mankind. And I've been trying for the longest of time, Abdi Lucas, to do that without expecting anything in return. But life do happens. When I say be loyal to your calling, I'm saying that now, Abdi Lucas, that you want to achieve in your life, but because of life events, you are constantly forced to want to move to a different direction. You are my thing and that you can be, but life events and situations pushes you to the side. You try to maintain and be in this relationship with yourself and with God and those around you, but so many other things, or people betray your trust, people betray your loyal your loyalty, but you still want to maintain and stay there. I was saying these words during the time I'm depressed. I'm not. I'm turning 26 this year. At 25, when I calculated my life, I said at 25 I would have gotten my LLB. Sibilekile admitted at 10 of the High Court at 25. But all these things were not happening. And I said to myself, "You're going to go back to school, and you're going to be loyal to your calling. You went to do law, not because you were aware that you might be depressed in the process, but you went to do law because you want to contribute to mankind, you want to contribute to the communities and speak against injustices, says Allah. You need to be loyal to that calling because I believe that the Lord chose me. And I was like, you need to be loyal to that calling. And when you are loyal to it, how I don't want to spiritualize this conversation, but how the universe surely will reward you. It is very important for 2 seconds. For 2 seconds that Moses, hallelujah, he was like, I cannot speak. And God says to him, when they ask you, who are you? And say, I am who I am who sent you. And the I am who I am who sent you says that now. And I'm going to give you the strength and the power to dominate. That's why Moses, it was easier for him to dominate wherever where he got. That's why it was easier for David to dominate in the circumstances. That's why it was easier for Joseph to dominate given the circumstances that I need. I'm there. I'm there. I am there. I am there. And I'm also reminded, furthermore, now, life can be messy and be whatever that is happening. I am there. This line, it changes. It's the same meaning, it's the same line, but every year and every challenge is taken. I'm like, be loyal. God is going to give you strength, and you're going to, and He's going to locate you. The circumstances are different. This line says to me, I'm not sure if it makes sense. It says, be loyal to your calling, and the universe will locate you. Once located, dominate. You are loyal because Lord and the universe can see you're loyal. But when your time comes, you'll dominate. All of us with the challenges, I can see you. Can see you. All of us, the challenges, when the time is right, We will forget that I was depressed. I will forget that now it took me like 6+7 years to complete a 5-year course. I'll forget all these things. I'll be dominating the space. Just be there. Just understand that. Be there. Acknowledge where you at. Be at peace with where you at. Because when the time is times of my life, even now as we're speaking, I'm going through the most difficult phase of life. It is the most difficult phase at the moment. And every day with Ponso Chabala, as we speak, I'm like, I cannot afford to be depressed again. I know better. But when the time is right, we are hopeful. The world is still going to reject you no matter how good and hardworking you are. The world is still going to reject you no matter how confident you are and how prayerful that you are. The world is still going to reject you no matter how good and what good that you do to the universe. But be loyal, and you'll be at the end of the day located. And when that time comes, there's a verse man in Psalms, it's 139 if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. It's something around those lines. That's what I mean, that now when God locates you, those who saw in tears, and that will happen. I think Jolene is a preacher. I was not answering your question.
No, ke a utlwisisa Thumo ha o tsamaya ka pitso morena o ya utlwahala hore re tsamaya re fa monga Thumo mosebetsi a o sebedise ke ntaele morena.
I'm really sorry. I'm sorry about
No. Remember, ha o tla ka mono o tla ka lapeng ha wa lahleha ntso le hona mona me re leng teng. So re itebohela haholo. Man ke batla re kwale, but ne ke batla fela re kwale ka lena le reng ha re batla batho ba batlang thuso re na le already associations kapa organizations tse tshwanang le bo SADC, but before re na le bo SADC, and then ke bona ba thusang haholo ke ntse dinomoro mo batho ba tla di bona ke 24/7 number, it's a toll free number. If go na batlang thuso a ka founela batho banana any time of the day. O ska tshoha, founela batho banana ba tla o thusa. Mara hona le tsenana tse maybe wena o tsebang hore no man hona le di walk in e batho ba ka yang ho bona ba tshabang ho bua le batho ba sa ba boneng na e be di teng.
Yes. The South African Depression and Anxiety Corpus, it appears there. In our morning conversation with you, I made reference to the fact that now psychotherapy it's a new era. And in the new era, we are forced, because of COVID, to try to use fourth industrial revolution approaches. And people are saying, I want to see a information on SADC page, both on Facebook, about other platforms besides their help. You go to the clinic, the nearest clinic, and you ask to see a psychologist. They will make arrangements for you to see a psychologist. Every clinic, they should be able to direct you to the right person. We talk about there's a pathway. When you go to national hospital now, you make an arrangement to see a psychologist. There's that department where you get to make arrangements. Every clinic, I want to put it out there that now there's work that is being able to be done. And also try to find ways personally, relaxation techniques, sitting in this, meditating, some ways so and how use them. Because now, unfortunately, sometimes because it's COVID, SADC is overwhelmed. Psychologists money, they also resort to telephonic approach. So let's also find ways as we try to find the cheaper option, which is SADC, because SADC is not cheap. Unfortunately, one of the things that makes my work to be difficult and the work together with the partners is the fact that psychologists are very expensive. Medication for mental health is very expensive. So let's try smallest of things that you do, checking your environment for triggers and things like that. Yes. Just
Yeah, I think who tlwaetse ka nnete. Yeah, now ha re kwala fela melatsa ho qetela mara mona ke batla fela o focus. Yes, maybe you've got
it's
something o batlang ho e bua before nna ke re, but ha o kwala o kwale,
hey,
yeah, o
okay,
kwale
in the
ka
2 seconds,
yeah, before. Yes, hona mo whatever o tlo e bua o be le a focused message o tlo ya ho the students that are going to now already have to acclimatize with this new arrangement. Ya ho lo balla online, they are struggling with their studies, and anyone also, young people in general. But in particular, o tla nka bana ba di-students, but young people in general, like re kwetse kgwedi ya bona maabane. Now re qala the next 6 months ya selemo. So o tla reng ho bona ha o kwala ke tlo fa chance o kwale o qete.
okay. I wanted to share the good news that I'm aware of just asking about we speak about depression on this coming Saturday. They will send me questions and things. So I was just saying, sometimes you're not aware of the work that you do, and when you are doing something with someone and doing it right, you get opportunities directly. I'll be on the City FM this coming Saturday at 8:30. They'll send the questions, but I was just trying to say to you, it's small things that we do, from small opportunities to address some of the issues to address, and now this came. So I wanted to share with you that. The message that I need to share with everyone, more especially young people, categorizing 2 seconds, by it's a metric. They might not be watching this. A parent, if you're a brother, if you're an aunt, if you're a sister, whatever relationship that you might have with those people. If there are any people currently who need support, strength, and all the help that they can get is from us, people who went through that. Let's support these people. This must be the most difficult thing ever to do metric at these circumstances. We are aware on our university the qualification during a pandemic, online learning is not for everyone. It's the most difficult thing to do. So give them chance, give them the support. You might not know. Oprah Winfrey speaks with my Angelo, and Maya not be aware of what you're doing, but you're at the phase where your life is going to do, being it to your academics, being it to your growth. Young people at the moment are stressed, Lucas, and are so lost in the sense that now career counseling, they don't invest in that. Even now, I have LLB, but now I was communicating with the Center for what's this? There's this department at UFS. Yeah, counseling, yeah, career, whatnot. And I'm like, I need to do career counseling. Yes, I have the qualification on my wall, but career counseling never stops. You don't know where you want. You always want to know. But I still feel like it's useless. I have those resources, because some don't know, and that can impact their mental health. What I just want them to do currently is focus on getting their marks right, not being the perfect students to a point where they're going to stress themselves to get good marks because it's a pandemic. But I'm saying do the best that you can, and the universe will locate you. There's a young person, Abdi Lucas, who's saying, I have all the qualifications, who's saying, I was lucky that I got unfortunately. There's a young person who's saying, my family wanted me to be the best thing ever, and I went to school, but there's a young person who's saying, to build a family, to build something for myself and my family, but my family is not appreciative of my efforts, and they are constantly looking down on the work that I've done. There's a person who's saying, I've achieved all these things that you guys are talking about, but what is more important, and unfortunately that is not happening, to get Mahlatsi stable. I want to say to those people, life is unfolding as it should, and sometimes it doesn't make sense. Life is unfolding as it should. We're in a position to understand that sometimes we cannot control how life unfolds. We cannot control the life events and circumstances. But what we are capable and we are in a position to do is to be able to understand our contribution in our life when it hits us. Doesn't make sense, does it? We are contribution. How do you choose to deal with matata olenga? It's very important. Unfortunately, some might not have the support structure. Some might not have the people that they can talk to without feeling as if though bakafumana support or by batla. Ausbitumelo speaks on something sometime during the week. Him, where we're saying that now we don't have those people are not there in our lives. So sometimes it's impossible, Lucas, to always have people who are going to fight for your dreams. So I'm saying to them, fight for your dreams, fight for yourself, fight for your stage and for your place on the face of the earth. Miss Universe, find spaces that are not worth you, disrupt those spaces that are not creating anything from you. Some of us, when we try to spiritualize life, when you are not created, when you are not invited on a table, create a table for yourself and only eat and serve and dine with those God would have chosen. So now, to that show. Now we are trying to transcend and to cross over to the unknown, and it is constantly important how Sarah Lidiboho or Mopelo Lidiboho la Jordan Anatsola Pilorele Kerata Hoya Kenating. Sometimes some of us we are looking for something that we want to get into, but distracts us. Because I'm saying this because I want us to understand that now there are situations where we're saying that now who are giving instructions to be of help and to be of help in our lives, but they are doing exactly the opposite of what they have been entrusted us to do. Who are giving the advice that they want to give. It's very important that you know exactly. I think I like this conversation. I said, and now when you give yourself how we peel you are understanding. What is important is that we pay and understand. When you are in believing or when you believe of that to happen, all that we can ask from God is because sometimes when we are going through all these life events, we even forget Mopedi wa mong ore mphe lerato le kutlwisiso I'm not sure this fela sena se fumane matleke, but it goes around the line that lerato la mohlang ke neng ke qale ho tseba morena. So let's try. Sometimes religion, God, everything doesn't make sense, but it's very important that you find the one area of hope. You find sometimes it can be the house. Sometimes it can be the fact that now you are inspired by the fact that now you are still alive to this day. That one area of hope is all that you need. Don't ever think of your life based on your bank account, because it'll depress. Get negative, get what that side. It'll depress. Think of your life of saying, if God was to give me an opportunity to try again, I'll do it right. Some of us because some of us were depressed because of the decisions that we make. Some of us are going through a lot because of a relationship in on a very high pedestal of it is not benefiting you in any way. And when people try to assist you about you, but give yourself an opportunity to try again. I'm trying, and I'm still trying. And I'm sharing a story of not a person who is saying that now I've won the battle of life, but I'm saying, thank God, in every phase here thing, I'm given an opportunity to see it from a different perspective. Life in Lina, I didn't crack the code your life, but I'm understanding that for me to crack this code, I constantly need to feel what I feel, to go through what I go through, and not have shortcuts about it. Eventually, to all of us, to everyone who's listening, eventually, your time will come, and the God will do it right. At the moment, be there. Relationship when we talk about these circumstances, I'm not sure but Joseph I forget this place where Brother Sir Joseph who said they were going to. But now the question is, Modimo how fumane mo au silente. Modimo how fumane mo au silente. And oske wa tloha, because my ema bophelo o tlosa. My ema bophelo o tlosa mpela Modimo. Ke my ema bophelo o tlosa mpela lehlono la hao. And also to people who are saying, I'm listening to what I'm going to achieve in life, but there's no place that you can go and say, I need to be lucky. I was telling this to a friend of mine and saying that now, babe, keep on such a she's part of the conversation. I'm like, baby, I sent close to 20 job applications and I've only got an interview, A1. And that interview, I thought I nailed it, and they came back to me and they said that now we regret to inform you. And I said to her, baby, but we try again. We try again. But yes, the chances of me relapsing and going back to depression are very high, but we choose not to, because we know that phase is more deeper and dangerous than the phase of trying to deal with life in the best possible and the best way possible. Mansoka 18 minutes in Kiana. Lucas applying for the jobs, applying for all these opportunities, that doesn't change the fact that now I am Tsepa Mahlatsi. It was difficult for me to get my bachelor's of law, but eventually I'm going to be exactly who and what I've always wanted to be. I'm not being over too confident about life. I understand life happens, but what I'm convinced about is the fact that now I have the responsibility. What I'm convinced and confident about is that I have the responsibility to fight for my dreams, create opportunities where possible. Young people, if there's ever a chance where we need to stand together, because the government is clear. It's not commissioned to say. My friends are sending me posts left, right, and center every day. And I'm like, that's the circle that understands we need to get you out of what you could be possibly feeling. A friend of mine says to me, why are you always talking about job or apply msebenzi if you can talk about Robert saying that to me? And I'm like, I would. It will receive someone well. We always say when we send these emails, I hope this email finds you well. One day it will find the person who will receive it well with best hopes. So next time emotional, I was just saying, referred someone how to like o tswa ka officing ya hao no o tswela ka ntle o tlo kopana le thero mo tlo kopanang le mobu. I want you to touch that soil. To whoever's listening, just go outside for a second, touch the soil, and you realize that now actually and no. So every day it's a constant battle of saying ke soka ke achieve any of the things that I wanted. How ska to mobu ke soka ke leka le hlono leka every day, then surely something right will come. And I think now I'm done.
Yeah, no, ke a leboha haholo bana beso. Ke tshepa hore ho utlwahetse ka nnete, ho utlwahetse. Ke lebohela bohle ba joinileng ba bileng le rona. Ha ke sa batla ho senya nako e ngata, ho buahetse, ho utlwahetse. Ke nahana re tla etsa hape neng ha nako ntse e tla, mme ke rata ho leboha ba tshepang ntate Modimo o etsa hantle in all your endeavors. O atlehe engwe le engwe o batlang ho etsa o tla e fihlella ka tshepo fela, o be le tshepo e tiileng, o tla fihlella sohle se ntate Modimo o behetseng sona lefatsheng kwana. So ke rata ho leboha nako ya hao le bohle ba o tsheheditseng ka mono, ba jwetse ra ba rapella ba bile ntse ba o tshwere jwalo, ba etsetse le ba bang ba bangata. So thuto ya kajeno ra leboha haholo. I learned a lot, and ke tshepa hore le bohle ba tlo shebella le ba ntseng ba shebelletse ba tlo bona hore thuso e teng ka ntle ka moo. Dinomoro ke tseo fatshe mo ntse di tsamaya screen. Ha o na le mathata, mohlomong o na le motho o batlang ho bua le yena, ho sena motho o ka mo sebedisang haufinyana, ho na le bona ba ka o referelang if o sa batle ho bua ka founu, o ka bua le bona, then ke Sadak, then ba tla o thusa. Dinomoro di teng tse tsamaya fatshe mo, di nke o be le tsona. Ha o tsebe o tla di hloka neng, because like brother Tshepang a tjholo, life happens. Ha o tsebe o tla di hloka neng, e ba le tsona o ka di referela for wena kapa for motho o mong kapa motswalle, family member. Hona le batho ba like a tjholo, hona le 4 out of 5 hona le batho ba na somewhere somehow along the way ba under this illness. It's a silent killer, and let's be aware. So ke a leboha bohle, ntate Modimo a letsa hantle ho fihlela re kopana hape.